So, this is Luke. He lives in the Bahamas, and we're going to ask him a couple questions. Okay, number one. How are things different culturally in the Bahamas?
I mean differently than they are here.
Yes.
Well, there's several ways, and I think where there's different. You're definitely operating with more of like an island culture. So things like time. Like if you go to a restaurant here, and Americans are used to like I want my food, I want it right now. It's kind of like hey we're gonna kind of get to that so it's a little bit lackadaisical, but everything is just a bit, I think, more slowed down. That's probably one of the biggest, different things you'll see with culture. It's not actually quite as vast of a difference as it used to be, because of things like the internet and social media and cable television, stuff like that coming into the Bahamas, American TV, stuff like that. So the difference isn't as vast as it used to be, but definitely there's a big difference. But that's probably one of the biggest differences you'll find. So.
Okay. Question two. What is the goal of Camp Bahamas?
The goal of Camp Bahamas really is to reach and impact the youth of the Bahamas with something positive, and the message of Jesus Christ as well, and do that through using sports. Athletics has always been something big for us in the Bahamas, so you got a lot of tremendous athletes that come out there. A lot of them will come over here and play, go to school, and if they can, get scholarship to go play private schools in the States. Guys like there's been actually guys that go on to the NBA and the NFL and stuff like that from the Bahamas. So sports is a big deal. So it's really to provide something positive for the youth there, so they really just don't get in a lot of trouble. So that's probably the biggest goal.
All right. Number three. Do people in the Bahamas interact differently with each other than they do in the States?
I think maybe to a degree. Typically over there, you don't have maybe all of the distractions and whatnot that you would have here. People tend to be. It's almost like kind of like. The difference here would be like if you went to like a big city, like if you lived in downtown Atlanta, the people might be a lot different than they live, in kind of some of the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? We're kind of like people know each other's name and they're a little bit more friendly, and it's just kind of, it's kind of people are just kind of hanging out type of a thing. So I think in that regard it is a bit different. It's kind of like living more like in a small town, depending on what island you are, that you're in as well. So.
All right. Number four. What was your job at Camp Bahamas?
Well, I never worked there, but every time I take a team to go, I'm volunteering, doing some different things, and leading teams in doing mission work and volunteer work, while we're there.
And then, how does Camp Bahamas really help the kids?
Okay, what they do is they do these. Well, during the summer, which is like really kind of like their season. They will do these camps, and at the camps they'll have like water sports. They'll have paintball. They'll have a zip line. They'll have definitely things that a lot of the kids that go to Camp Bahamas during the year would never really have the chance ever to do. And some of the students that they take, a lot of them are from orphanages in Nassau. I mean, you've got approximately about 400,000 people, maybe just under, roughly in the Bahamas, and about 2/3 of them live in Nassau. Camp Bahamas is located in Eleuthera. It's one of the outer islands, but Nassau is only 21 miles by 7 miles, so it's very densely populated. And so they would take a lot of the students, that are maybe in orphanages and stuff like that, as well as some of the schools in Nassau, take them over to Eleuthera, and they will do all kinds of stuff. So it's a really, really neat thing for a lot of these kids to be able to have a week like that. It's really great. In fact, some of the people at the orphanages will use Camp Bahamas as a deterrent to do other things. Like, for instance, if there's a student and they're really acting up, and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they will get threatened with, well, we're not going to let you go to Camp Bahamas in the summer. And more often than not, the kids will straighten up. They'll do whatever they need to do because they do not want to miss that. For some of those kids, when they go there, it's such a big deal because it may be the only time where they actually have 3 meals a day. So, but even stuff like that. And then during the year, they try to reach out when they're having other teams come in that will go out. Like I've brought several teams over there, and we will stay there at Camp Bahamas, but we will actually go out into the island and do a lot of things with some of the local people that are there. So it's really, they're doing stuff all year long. Not just in the summer, but summer really is kind of more the bigger time for them.
Okay. All right. Question 6. How does the U.S. influence the Bahamas?
Well, they always say, there's a saying that, if the U.S. gets cold, the Bahamas will sneeze. And there's definitely a huge influence of relationship, because of just the proximity. The island all the way to the north in the Bahamas, Grand Bahama, I lived there for a few years, and there's a point you can go out. It's called West End. It's the furthest west point on the island, and it's not that far away. On a clear night, you can actually see the lights of Palm Beach. From West End. It's very, very. It's not very far. So in proximity wise, it is the closest country to the U.S. that's actually not connected, like Canada and Mexico. So there's a lot. We got a lot of Americans that come over there, and there's also a lot of Europeans as well. But definitely there's a big relationship there. The U.S. Customs has an office and set up right there in Nassau, so you actually clear customs, U.S. Customs in Nassau, and you have to clear it when you come here to the States, so you clear it there. So there's a big relationship. In fact, a lot of people think that the Bahamas is kind of like Puerto Rico, where it's like owned by the U.S. And so I have that conversation a lot. They're like, oh, well, they're owned by, and they're an independent nation, but there's definitely a big influence, and mostly because of the proximity.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This will be the last question.
Yeah.
Question number 7. How can anyone help Camp Bahamas?
Well, you can help probably in several ways. One is, you can go there and volunteer. If you're a student, or if you're a mechanic, or a carpenter, or masonry work, and anything like that, there's always stuff. Because Camp Bahamas right now is located on about 23 acres of land, and a lot of it's undeveloped. And so we have teams that go over there that will help build stuff like that. They've got several buses that have been donated to them that they always need work on, and that kind of thing. And some of the places they go, the roads are not very good, so it'll be kind of bumpy, and things just break down. Plus, because you're really close to the sea, you got all that sea air coming in, and things rust quicker. So there's always stuff that needs to be done there. So one, if you're a student or an adult, you can go there and help volunteer with that. But if you can't make it all the way over there, you can always definitely anything financially, is always kind of like appreciated as they continue to undertake the cost of reaching out to a lot of people that really wouldn't have the means of any other way to do it. So you can go to campbahamas.com or .org. It all takes you to the same place, and you can find out definitely some more information there about how to get involved, or some ways that you can donate if you wish to, or even if you'd like to book a trip and you'd like to go, you can contact Richard Albury, who's the director of Camp Bahamas. Is a good friend of mine, and campbahamas.com will give you pretty much everything you need to know as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. All right.